celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox on AM 650.
Welcome back on Boomer Life. Today we're talking about the latest innovations in hearing. We're talking about the inner workings of the ear from an expert perspective. And we've got some solutions for those suffering from hearing loss and those people living with tinnitus. Our guest in studio, Dr. Ted Venema, who is an audiologist with NexGenHearing.com over in Victoria and Mainland Hearing here in Metro Vancouver as well. Dr. Ted, I think the one thing, and you mentioned this during the break again, I referred to how annoying tinnitus or ringing in the ear can be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like a siren in your ear. It's just a constant annoying noise that so it's not necessarily about loudness, is it?
No. Now, there's different, like noise-induced hearing loss will often have a high-pitched ringing tinnitus.
Right.
Whereas people who suffer from the pathology known as Meniere's disease, which is too much fluid inside the inner ear, theirs may be more of a roaring, low-pitched tinnitus. Then again, some tinnitus is pulsatile, like boom, boom, boom. And if that's that, then it's more vascular in origin. And then in those cases, a physician might be able to actually hear it, him or herself.
Oh.
But otherwise, tinnitus is always subjective. It's just heard by the person. Always remember, tinnitus is, in almost all cases, is not an actual sound. It's your perception of a sound, but that's not actually a physical sound wave.
Oh, come on. No, listen. Now you got my dander.
There you go.
Because I hear, I mean, I don't have this all the time, but I get this usually in my left ear, and it's a high-pitched kind of a tone, and it I can hear it.
Yeah.
I definitely.
You hear it, yeah.
So, and
I can't hear it, though, and if I put a stethoscope up to your ear, I wouldn't be able to hear it either.
Well, okay, but then does that, because now we're into the tree falling in the forest, and does anybody hear? Except that I hear it, and because you can't hear it.
That's the maddening part of it.
That is.
Okay.
And so I say, can you hear that? And you go, hear what?
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a ring. Can't you hear that ringing sound? No, I hear nothing. Oh, geez. Now you're just fooling with me. No, I honestly don't hear anything.
Correct.
So it's just subjective.
Yes, and people measure it. What I can do is I can give you tones and say, does it sound more like this? Does it sound more like that? And finally we'll get to it, and you'll go, oh, yeah, it sounds like that.
Right.
It sounds like that.
That's the noise.
And then I can try to match how loud it is. Now, get this. The loudness at which you hear your tinnitus. If I do an experiment and I've matched the pitch of it, now I'm going to match the loudness of it. It's probably heard at about a 5 decibel level above your hearing threshold. It's about 5 decibels to you.
Right.
That's 5 decibels ain't much, buddy. It's soft.
Right.
Now, there was a doctor way back in the mid-1900s, an ear, nose, and throat physician by the name of Fowler. This guy found that to be true. He tested 631 patients with tinnitus.
Okay.
And he thought, they've just got to be taught not to exaggerate so much. They're just a bunch of whiners. Would you like some cheese with your wine?
Oh.
Now, that's not a very sympathetic or empathetic approach.
To say the least.
Jack Vernon, a PhD audiologist who has recently passed away, but he was a tinnitus advocate and researcher.
This is the guy in Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
He had a physician friend who he noted would always sit around this fountain when he ate lunch. And Vernon asked him, why do you always sit there when you have your lunch? Well, it covers the ringing I've got in my ears, the fountain, the water splashing. It just kind of, I don't hear that annoying.
Oh, just because the fountain noise, it took away the tinnitus.
Because it's the noise is masking it. It covers it, you see? And that's one of the treatments for tinnitus. Now, Vernon, too, he found that people often, that it's not the loudness of the tinnitus that has anything to do with the degree of annoyance. Now, let me just try this again.
Okay.
The loudness of one's tinnitus has very little to do with the degree that it bugs the person.
Okay.
Because in most people, tinnitus is actually, when we match it in listening experience,
not terribly loud.
It's not terribly loud.
Just annoying as all get out.
You've layered it like an oyster makes a pearl. You've got a reaction formation now.
Right.
You've tied a chain around your brain. You've looped it, and now you're anxious and you are focusing on your tinnitus. And
right.
The whole job is to break that cycle. Take the chain off your brain. We've got to. Because
So thus the psychological treatment
approach.
programs that you were talking about, alluding to before the break.
Yes.
So what do you do?
Well, Vernon's approach was to use a little bit of masking, a little bit of noise. So he would advocate the use of hearing aids, and in some cases, hearing aids that actually produce a little bit of noise. And some hearing aids today are doing this. For the tinnitus sufferer, you can actually program the hearing aid to produce and rainforest noise, hippy-dippy, this kind of noise, that kind of noise, whatever you want.
Isn't that
you can
exactly
get
the
at
opposite
Alice's.
of what you expect a hearing aid to do? It's supposed to filter
Yes.
out bad noises
Yes.
so you get the message
Right.
that you want to hear.
Now-
But here, the hearing aid technology
Yes.
is now so advanced
Yep.
that not only can it filter out sounds and noises you shouldn't hear,
But it can produce some that you want to hear.
Isn't that
Yeah.
something?
And those are called tinnitus maskers.
Okay.
Now, in the old days, those maskers were pretty primitive, and they weren't very accepted. But in today's digital hearing aids, it's been improved dramatically. So his was that kind of approach. Another approach is called tinnitus retraining therapy, TRT, by a Pavel Yastrobov out of Emory University out of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Now, his approach is more psychological. He couldn't give a darn about where it's from or what particular cause of it is. He is a psychologist.
Okay.
And so he's trying to break the cycle. He's focusing on habituating to it by saying to you, it's just a useless sound. It's
Right.
just there.
Right,
It's
right.
just a nuisance.
And we, of course, sitting across the desk from the doc are going, no, it's not.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
fixated on this thing.
So
It's been
he's-
driving me crazy.
So what he's going to do is desensitize you.
Okay.
And so you're going to go to treatment sessions, and you'll be listening to stuff that you want to hear under headphones, and they're going to produce an annoying kind of sound in your headphones while you're trying to concentrate on what you want to hear. And over sessions, you are trying to tune that out, that annoying sound, and get used to training yourself to get rid of that annoying sound while you're trying to listen to what you want to. Next session, they'll make that annoying sound a little bit more like the sound of your tinnitus.
Ah.
And you'll be trying to concentrate, and so you're focusing on what you're trying to hear, and you're tuning it out to the best of your ability.
So you're learning. You're learning to listen around
Yes,
it.
in the next session, they'll make the sound more like your tinnitus, and
Interesting.
so on. And in that wise, what you're taught how to desensitize, you're desensitizing yourself to it.
Right. Right.
And you're habituating it. Habituation is just getting used to a sound. It's like you hear something once and it's, oh, wow. Well, you hear it again, it's, oh, that again. You hear it again, oh, and you hear it again. Now you don't hear it anymore. You've habituated to it.
I suppose,
So
except now, it sounds, I suppose, a little easier to pull off than it actually is,
It's-
particularly because, again, if when we get a little older, we expect things to start going a little south on us. So we kind of adapt. We go, well, I'm a boomer now, so this is going to go, and I'm not going to be able to do this as well, and so now I'm going to have a little less of that, and so we sort of accommodate for our aging, and we make excuses for reduction in stuff that we've been able to
right.
accomplish up until that point painlessly.
Yeah.
And so if we have this tinnitus driving us crazy, this nonstop in your ear, we can somehow or another, which many of us stoically go, well, it comes with being a boomer. I'll just deal with it.
Yeah.
And
it's a quality of life issue.
absolutely,
It's for some people it can be really severely debilitating. And
Yes.
that's terrible. You need to get a hearing test. You need to see someone about it. And they're not going to give you a magic pill. And no, they can't make it go away. What they can teach you and help you with is coping strategies of dealing with it.
Right.
And they can explain to a huge degree some of the cause of it, and they can also recommend hearing aids if you have hearing loss, which can often help alleviate it. Look, the idea is not to cover it up totally. The idea is to take the edge off of it.
Right.
You don't totally
Reduce the annoyance.
Yeah, otherwise the cure becomes worse than the disease.
Right.
You're not trying to make a sound so loud that the person's now, the tinnitus isn't audible anymore, but now they're hearing that sound.
Right.
You don't want to make the cure worse than the disease. You're trying to
Exactly.
take the edge off of it.
Right.
So what they do is they partially mask it. You just kind of take the sharpness of the tinnitus you take the edge of it off, and then it's not in the forefront of the person's mind anymore.
And then it becomes something you can live with.
Yes, that's what they're trying to do.
Interesting.
Yep.
And all of this is predicated on you being proactive.
Yes.
If you or someone you know, because, sometimes we need a little push from
Yes, we
our
do.
loved ones.
And
if you're the one that everybody's repeating everything to,
I know.
somebody's going to come up to you and go, probably be a really good idea to have a hearing test.
And too, not only
and
is
they're
the hearing
free for crying out loud.
Not only are they free, but there's also, if you darken the doorway of a Mainland or NexGen office, there is a draw for a $5,000 pair of hearing aids.
Okay, we'll tell you more about that. That's on the website. And by the way, if you want to check out both websites, it's mainlandhearing.com or nexgenhearing.com. And NexGen is NEXGEN hearing.com. Our guest from NexGen Hearing is Dr. Ted Venema. We'll tell you more about those deals on the websites and talk a little bit more about tinnitus when we return on Boomer Life here on AM 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on AM 650.